Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to today's webinar, talking about how generative AI is in consumer brand marketing. This webinar is hosted by Listening 24/7. My name is Fan. I'm based in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I'm part of the Listening 24/7 leadership team. My background is in strategy and behavioral economics consulting, and I often collaborated with marketing departments in many different consumer businesses. So I'm very excited to delve into today's topic with all of you. Just firstly, a huge thank you to all of our partners and brand owners around the world who have joined us today. We appreciate your time for this webinar, and we aim to make it insightful and valuable for you. I'm just going to quickly outline our agenda for the next 45 minutes, just to ensure we make the most of our time. Introduce our host, Michaelis Michael from Listening 24/7, and our esteemed guest, Tom Molnar, the CEO and co-founder of Gales. Michaelis will provide a short intro just to set the scene, and then he'll go into a discussion with Tom where they'll discuss marketing journey and how Tom and his team have incorporated both social media data, predictive AI, and generative AI into their marketing strategies and into their content creation. We're then going to leave 10 minutes at the end for questions and answers. This is a great opportunity to ask two very impressive CEOs any questions you may have. So please post your questions in the Q&A in the interactions tab on the right at any point in the webinar, and we'll get to those at the end and make answer them for you. Great, so let's get started. We're going to start off with a quick poll. Please use the interaction tab on the right to give us your vote to participate in the poll. We just want to know which of the options you find most valuable for your brand. And while you take a few seconds to vote, I'm going to begin introducing our speakers, Michaelis and Tom. So firstly, our valued partner and guest, Tom Molnar, co-founder and CEO of Gales. Tom, welcome, and thank you for joining us. I'm just going to bring Tom on. Hi, Tom.
Hi, everybody.
Great. So over the last 20 years, Tom has worked in growing and building Gales into the massive chain it is today, as well as the Bread Factory, a chef-only craft bakery that's part of the Gales chain. Tom was raised in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and he studied aquatic ecology. He then moved to INSEAD for his MBA. He then worked as an energy and commodity trader for 9 years at Cargill, and subsequently he did management consulting at McKinsey & Co. Before finally moving on to founding one of the most beloved bakery chains in the UK. Currently lives in Camden with his wife and 2 kids, and I guess you're still using that aquatic ecology in your surfing, skiing, and skateboarding.
Cool.
Next, I'd like to introduce Michaelis, the founder and CEO of Listening 24/7, which was formerly known as DMR. Welcome, Michaelis, and thank you for hosting this.
Hi, everyone.
Michaelis is an aerospace engineer by education. He hasn't made it into outer space yet. He chose instead to spend his career in market research, in consulting, and in data analytics. And shortly, he's going to be telling us a bit more about why data and artificial intelligence is more exciting than outer space. Just to remind everyone to post your questions as we go along in the Q&A. And I'm going to hand over to Tom and Michaelis to firstly give us your thoughts on the results of the poll, and then to take us into your content.
Thank you, Yakov. Thank you very much. Well, I see that about half of the people answered the poll, which is, which of the following features do you find most valuable for your brand? It looks that the majority, 71%, said generating actionable insights from customer data. And then we have a few who said creating ready to publish social media content, which is great because we're going to talk about that as well. Oh, there's a few more people. And then real-time brand health tracking and sentiment analysis got 25%. Thank you very much, everyone, for that. So I want to start by by sharing a couple of slides, literally 2 or 3. So allow me to share my screen. And then we will go straight into a conversation with Tom. Hold on. Here we go. Tom, can you see my screen?
Yep, I sure can.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Great to have you here. It's really a pleasure and an honor to have a UK celebrity CEO as a guest at our webinar today, because you are. I mean, I see your name in the Financial Times, in the in many newspapers, and people talk about Gales a lot. In full disclosure, Gales is a client of Listening 24/7, and I am one of the fanatic customers of Gales. There are many of us in England. We love the brand, and we of course love the product. Here is why I'm a fanatic. Number one, cinnamon bun, best cinnamon bun in the world. Number two favorite for me is the seeded sourdough bread. Can't live without it. I buy it from Amazon and Waitrose. And number three, the seeded crackers, best snack ever.
Yeah,
Tom, I'm really not buttering you up. I really am a fan, and welcome, and thank you again for taking the time.
Pleasure.
It's great to have you here. All right, so this is. I'll start with what you said, the audience. During registration, there were 3 questions. The first one was, what is your experience in using Gen AI for insights? It looks like the majority has limited experience, 47%, and then a little bit of experience, 30%. So this is the place to be if this is the case. The second question was, what would you like to learn? What would you like the take-home value to be? There are a few, right? I highlighted one, the one before last, using AI to develop social media campaigns, which I think we will demonstrate how this can be done today, and we will talk about it. But, more knowledge on AI and Listening 24/7, tips and tricks, how Gen AI can impact brand management, and practical business applications, and see results from those who adopted it. So I will repeat what Yagov said. There is a Q&A button on the top right-hand side of your screen. Please use that to type your questions to Tom and I. And during the last 10 minutes, Yagov will ask those questions on your behalf, and we will answer them for you. There are some questions that you already asked, and we will make sure we answer these questions at some point during this webinar. If not, Yagov, these are also candidate questions for the last 10 minutes. Top 3 trends of AI's evolution that will benefit marketers in 2025. Interesting one. And what insights should a non-technical person know on AI in the social media industry, and examples from highly regulated non-financial sector. And then there's a question, interesting question about prompts. Right, so moving on. The premise of today's conversation is that unstructured data, such as text, audio, images, and video, makes up more than 90% of all the data humanity has ever produced. With especially trained AI models, it is possible to tag social media posts, for example, with a brand name, a sentiment, positive, negative, or neutral, a topic of discussion in any language. It doesn't have to be English, from any country, adding intelligence to the raw data gathered, and thus move from chaos to some structure. And in last August, we gathered 6,199 posts from these sources on Gales and some competitive brands. And in September, a month later, we added a few more competitors, and that number got to 34,000 posts, from 6,000 to 34,000. So it's important to think about which competitive set you want to track along with your own brand. Our suggestion is to always include big brands. And in this visual here, you're looking at the share of voice of the 5 brands, including Gales, in August. So Gales was ranked second with a 19% share of voice. So this kind of data is good to find interesting insights, but also to validate certain assumptions and to track your position on the market. So there's a lot of learning on the point that many of you, small and medium enterprises, choose smaller brands to compare themselves with. Our suggestion is to also include big brands, because there's a lot of learning that can be derived from what the big brands are doing online, even if you don't think you are a direct competitor. And it's interesting to know what works for them and what doesn't work for them. So, Tom, again, thank you. And I want to start our conversation by asking you whether you see Gales as a data-driven company.
Yeah. So, first of all, for those who don't know Gales, it's, we're roughly 4,500 people, about a 300 million pound revenue business. We've grown from a 2 million pound business about 20 years ago. So we've gone through quite a lot of growth, but we still stay committed to being a craft bakery, serving kind of really long fermentation premium breads to the market, right? Just to give you a sense of where we're coming from. So, when it comes to, how do you get this? How do you make sure that this business, which I love, grows, in a healthy way? We need to figure out how to listen to our customers a little bit better. And we were generating, what you realize as you grow is you're generating a lot more data, and it's about what do I do with that? So for us, we are somewhere, we haven't, we are collecting data, we're warehousing it pretty well. We want to be data driven. I think that we are evolving the business so that it's capturing data and then learning how to use the data. But I think for a craft kind of complex business like ours, it's key for us to kind of to become a data driven business. I guess versus our peers, we're very data driven.
Great.
But I can't, for me, there's a big creative element in our business as a craft bakery, and then data is there to help support that and I guess free up the creativity.
Yeah. Do you have any comment on the share of voice and how information like that might be useful? The slide that we just saw. Any reaction to that?
I think it's, we've spent a lot of time, with you guys talking about what does it mean to be second? If we are, and who are the competitors, right? But if you take a chain of, let's say, Costa that might have 2,000 sites versus us that has 150, but then we have half the share of voice, that sounds like a pretty good. But how do you scale that across? So if I go to 300, will I double? Probably not. So there's something trying to understand your competitors and the intensity of your real estate and what you're doing.
Yeah, and there are ways, as you also suggested, to put everybody on the same level by maybe, one way would be to divide the total number of posts by the number of outlets, which was actually your suggestion.
Yeah, or by sales, or some way to equivocate.
Exactly. Now, here is another one example of how these thousands of hosts, which no human being or team of human beings are able to read and understand and analyze, everything coming from the wild, as we say, it can be structured in a way that strategy and tactics may be informed. So here you're looking at a 2x2 matrix with net sentiment score on the y-axis and possible reach of your posts, of a brand's posts, on the x-axis. And Tom, I know this is one of the visuals you like. Can you tell our audience why? And the A, B, C, D, and E, these are different brands in the competitive set. So brand A, you read those boxes as brand A, brand B, brand C, brand D, and brand E, and then you see the possible reach number in the table. So Tom, how is this helpful?
Yeah, well, this is a key slide for me. It's something that I look at on a monthly basis that I think my marketing team can look at on a weekly basis. But you're really trying to get a sense of like, where are we going, right? So there's a whole bunch of noise out there in the social media world, and I was really struggling with understanding, is all stuff good stuff? How much of it's happening? Is it growing? Is it becoming or shrinking? Is it becoming more positive or more negative? And this slide really takes a picture in time of, where are you versus your competitive set. And I think one key thing that we've done with this is said, okay, not only where are you versus your competitive set, but where are you moving to? So, we've now developed a kind of an extra on this, which basically says, if we were B, let's say that, where did B go? Where are we next quarter and the following quarter? And are we improving? Are we reaching more people? And is that positive? Or are we reaching less people? It's negative, or so it really helps kind of create some dynamism behind a bunch of noise that I hear about, but I can't understand. It's the unstructured versus structured data.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And for our audience, just a simple way to read this slide. So you if you're a brand and you're present in social media, you really want to be in the right upper quarter, which means positive sentiment and a lot of people reached by those posts. And the worst place to be is not bottom left. It is actually bottom right, because that would mean, especially if the net sentiment is below 0, you can go down to -100 if you have more negative sentiment than positive in net sentiment score. So if you have a negative sentiment score and lots of reach, that's the worst place to be, obviously.
Yeah. I have to say this one is super, like I said, it's important for us as a team, decision makers, to look at and go, okay, what happened? Were we affecting change so more people knew about us? All that chatter that's out there. We've gone from having these discussions where somebody said, I saw people were complaining about X, and then we get all worried about that, to kind of understanding if you put all that together, what's the net of?
That's right. May I ask my colleague to show the second poll? So again, everyone in the audience, you go to interactions, and then there's another question: do you think your brand can shape the narrative on social media? The classic argument that brands have lost control over their reputation and image since the proliferation of social media. 20 years ago, with TV commercials and bulletin boards and newspaper ads, you could manage and be in control of your brand image. In this day and age, you're not in control. So that's what this question is about, do you think you can shape the narrative on social media? And that's a question that I want to also ask Tom. Tom, do you think brands can be in control of their image and reputation online? And can they control the narrative? And if yes, how?
I mean, I think it'd be hubris to think you can control it, but I think what you seek to do is to shape it, right? Yeah. And I think that, the problem with social media is just seeing it in the aggregate, and I was really frustrated by conversations that would be anecdotal. And, that happens at the customer experience level, but at this level, you can actually look at it in the aggregate. And that's, while there's some details that are important, and I think generative AI and some of the other data breaks that down a little bit, we need to see it in the whole. So I think can't control, you must, I think there are tools there and ways and conversations that allow you to shape it, but I think you have to accept that that's the best you can do.
Yeah, thank you. So it looks like we have 30% saying yes, you can shape the narrative, 20% saying no, and 50% saying unsure, which again, well, as you have heard, Tom's view is you cannot control it, but you can shape it by participating in the conversation, at least in the
or not participating. I think a lot of decisions that we make are, first of all, do we do something or do we let it go?
Yeah.
And then when we decide to do something, then what does that thing look like?
That's right. Understood. Sometimes you don't want to open a can of worms. That's totally understandable. Okay, so we can close this.
Just one thing on this graph that I would just mention to people that are listening is that, getting the competitor and the brands right is important. I think in this slide, for example, you want to kind of create some space, but it almost doesn't matter where anybody starts. It's where you go to. And then also watching where your customers, your other brands go to, right? So where you are relative.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah,
so I mean, ideally, when we take out E, we'd still watch E, but we'd move it, and so we'd see a little bit more movement. But yes,
yeah.
I think it's for each company to kind of come up with their 2x2.
Indeed, thank you.
And that is
all right. So moving on now, I want to go into the generative AI that we use in this context, which we call datavinci. So there is listening 24/7 that gathers and adds some intelligence in the form of sentiment and topics and brands. And then there's datavinci, which does the following. So here's an example from the Gales report. And in a minute, I will ask you to comment on this, Tom. Mm-hmm. So this is one of those that a brand is not sure if it should participate in the conversation or not, because it's a bit controversial. I find it very impressive that datavinci discovered the fact that gentrification is a conversation driver. And that means that our definition of a conversation driver is that if you decide to participate in this conversation as a brand, you will get a lot of engagement from people because they're already discussing this in a passionate way. And it looks like in this case, you were opening a bakery in some area, and there was a group that loved the idea like me, and they were jumping up and down with joy. And there were some other people who were saying, yeah, but maybe some local bakeries will close down and things like that. And I always think of it in a way that gentrification is when landlords get really, really happy and tenants get really, really unhappy because the rents will go up. And so that's a conversation driver that datavinci identified from the data. And then it suggested a business action, which goes promote inclusivity. Gales can take steps to promote inclusivity and diversity within their brand, both in terms of their products and their engagement with local communities. This can help in bridging the gap between different socioeconomic groups, the rich and the poor, basically, and fostering a sense of a unity rather than division. How do you comment on this?
Well, I think this is one part of the generative AI that I really like, because it helps my teams kind of go, okay, what are the drivers? So there was not just one, there's a couple different ones that come out of a month's worth of posts and social media chatter. And so I think it helps them bucket them. And then of course we need to look at it and to go, is that this issue? You know, there's that part of it, but it helps kind of pull the conversation at least, you know, the 50% starting point, right? And we can discuss it. And so I do really like that part of it. I think the suggested actions, again, all this is really good. You know, I think it can get better. And as we work on it, you know, we're kind of training the system to think a little bit more like us. But, you know, but I think, you know, even a suggested action that isn't exactly right, or maybe is right on, and you think, oh, we're going to do that anyway, it does prompt you to have clarity around your discussions. And I think that's one of the things that generative AI does. It says, hey, here's an option.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a great point, actually.
You don't have to get defensive. You could say, okay, well, is that really an issue? And then, nobody can bury it before it can become a conversation.
Yeah. You made two important points here. One is it may be used for inspiration, even if it's not spot on or exactly what you want to do. But the other thing you said is that an AI model can be trained to abide by the guardrails that you set for your brand and speak in the tone of your brand. We will see in a minute some automated content creation from datavinci, and we will discuss that as well. But you're right. You're making a great point that it's like when you start, the AI is like a small child, and as you keep training it, it becomes an adult. But it happens really fast. It's not, it happens in weeks or months rather than in years. But
I think it's more of a thought partner, rather than it's telling you what to do. I think that's the approach that I think I've found most healthy.
Yeah. So the first thing that the Gen AI does in this social media and brand marketing to help is to identify a conversation driver, which means if a brand participates, it will get above average in this conversation. It will get above average engagement and maybe reach. And then the second thing it does, it provides a number of suggested actions. Some of them may be spot on, some of them may be for inspiration, and some of them may be completely discarded. And the third thing it does, it produces automated content. So in this case, you can see this as an image brief from datavinci, or if you're very brave, you can see it as an AI prompt and use it to ask datavinci to produce the image that you will use in your Facebook post or your Instagram post. So in this case, it says the image shows a diverse group of people enjoying pastries and coffee at a Gale's bakery. So it is addressing the suggested business action from before. The atmosphere is cozy and inviting with warm lighting and comfortable seating. The staff is engaging with customers, creating a sense of community and belonging. The image conveys a message of inclusivity. And that's the point where the conversations became a bit hot. The disagreement between is it good or is it bad, and highlighting Gale's commitment to building relationships with the local community. And so a couple of months ago, when you used this brief as a prompt, it produced, datavinci produced this image. And I remember, Tom, and I still use the word you used. You said, "Oh, these images are goofy, and they're very
goofy, super goofy."
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like an engineer gave filled a creative brief.
yes, but
literal.
Yeah, but we kept training it, and now there is some improvement. So just now, before this call, I used the same brief, and it produced this. The improvement I see here is that the faces, these could be real humans, whereas the the image from 3 months ago that couldn't be.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
you
right.
can tell. What do you think of this, of the improvements?
Well, I still wouldn't use it. I think, yeah, but I don't think that throws away everything, right? I mean, because I think the improvement is remarkable, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, again, helping to create the right discussion and creating examples of what could be done has done an amazing job of provoking some of my best people to go, oh yeah, okay, that's not right, but then what is? And then you go, and it gets you there, right?
Yeah.
And so there is a time maybe where it can produce. I feel confident that it can get closer and closer, and I think that I've kind of put as a challenge to our team.
Yeah.
It's a great exercise, So we basically start out with, we're given a decent budget, we're given a kind of an action. These are all things that people can discuss, and I guess we're more effective.
Yeah. I was told by another client of ours that when they are about to decide what to post, they sit in a room and there's a sketcher somewhere. And so they decide what is the copy that goes in the post. And then somebody starts describing an idea or an image, and the sketcher has to sketch it. Yeah. And then they give it to the photographer. Well, this does the word of the sketcher, let's say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
In a much better way, and you save the manpower.
Yeah, but if you're thinking, I don't think is this thing going to get to a place where you can completely automate it? No. But does it get you so that you're much more effective, and the conversations? That's what I've found that this is able to do, is to create more effective conversations, almost by throwing out ideas.
Yeah. Exactly. May I ask Slavika to show the third and last poll question, which is, what are the two biggest challenges you face in connecting with your audience on social media, which is very much related to what we're discussing here. And maybe I guess the reason why this question is asked is just to figure out if Gen AI could be of help. So you click on interactions and you go to the third question and try to answer it. I see some answers coming in. Understanding what drives their purchase decisions is number one, obviously, for small and medium enterprises. Sales is really, really important, and staying relevant with content that resonates with them. So find the conversation drivers, basically, and that's so we have two choices. So 67% is staying relevant with content. 50 now it's 71. 57% understanding what drives purchasing decisions, and 33% turning customer data into clear actions. All right, so we have another minute, and before I turn it to Yakov to go to audience questions, maybe I can ask you one more question, Tom. There is a report that we do for you as the CEO, and there is one that goes to your marketing team. Can you talk a little bit about the different needs within an organization?
Yeah, sure. I'm more, as a CEO, you need to think more strategically and kind of a little bit longer term. You and I have talked about this. I really don't want to see this on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. I want to see it on a monthly basis. I think there are other CEOs with different businesses that might want to make it weekly, but for me, monthly is fine. And really, it's about making quarterly progress. For my marketing team, it can be a daily or a weekly thing, and I think they can watch kind of what's happening. So for me, it was quite important to have those two different reports.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Tom. Everyone, you're looking at the email addresses of Tom, myself, and Yakov in case you want to contact us directly. So, Yakov, I think it's now time for you to take over and go to questions from the audience. And I will stop sharing my screen, and over to you, Yakov.
Great. Thanks, Michaelis. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, so now if you have any questions, there's a Q&A in the interactions tab, just to the right of interactions to ask any questions. And you're also going to see a call to action in the interactions tab, where we just click that button and to get in touch with us. If you'd like us to walk you through the process of getting started with social media listening, if you'd like a demo, a complimentary demo, and we're even offering to people who join this webinar a complimentary report on your brand and one of your competitors, so that you can really get a sense of how this works and how it can benefit your brand. So just click that call to action. If you're watching this as a recording, you'll also have received an email from us as a follow-up to this webinar and with the recording. So simply reply there or contact us via one of those email addresses you just saw. So to get started on the questions that have come through. So the first one, I think we maybe just answered it. It's how does an SME or a small or medium business get started on a journey like this using generative AI for marketing? So number one is get in touch with us and arrange a demo or a free report. But anything to add there, Michaelis?
Yeah, I think in order to start analyzing data, first you need to get some data. And so if people on this call deal with brands that do not gather social media posts and around their brand and what their customers are saying about them and their competitors, I think that would be the first step, to see what's out there and make an estimate. It doesn't even have to cost anything. An estimate doesn't cost anything. Just check out how many people talk about you and your brands, how many posts in each one of these social media platforms.
Yeah, but I thought that was like for my board, right? You know, we didn't have any collection of social media data, right? We've got a huge amount of customer data, interaction data, and we're doing, you know, we're serving 500,000 people a week, right? But then the social media realm, we had no structured data, right? And that was really interesting to bring the first report to the board to say, hey, look, this is how many people are talking about us versus other people, and this is kind of what there's the positive and negative and the type of things that they're talking about. It was a blind spot, but it was one that, you know, you can just go out and scrape the web. The data is already out there. That's what I find interesting. So day one, after scraping it, you got it.
The largest focus group.
We just weren't using it. What's that?
It's the largest focus group that's always on, as Michaelis always says.
Yeah, it requires some massaging. It requires, you know, you need to work with people who can, you know, how do you get it positioned? You need to get your team to understand, because, you know, but gosh, man, that's a heck of a lot of data that's out there. That's free.
Amazing.
Free.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Michaelis. The next question, and I think I'm going to combine it because this was a question for Tom. How does the Gales team use listening 24/7 and datavinci? But I think we've gone into that in quite a lot of detail in the presentation. But maybe if you have anything to add there, Tom, but maybe we can also bolt on the next question, which is, what are the top trends of the way AI is evolving that'll benefit marketers in the coming years? So I think for both of you, Michaelis and Tom, you know, so anything you want to add on how you use datavinci and generative AI, but then also where do you see it going in the next few years?
Yeah. Well, I think I made the point. Generative AI helps us structure the conversation so that because the hardest sometimes is just to have a structured conversation. And this creates some structure and some buttons that people can, you know, there's energy. You know, on what I think in the next 10 years, I'm not an expert. I'm just a user. I would say for me, the most important thing is that these things continue to learn and they adapt to your culture, right? And your way of thinking, because every brand has got a different voice. And there's a bit of magic in that. And the closer it can get, you know, the more that we can work on higher level things.
Yeah. On the trends, I can say something. So I'm one of the people who think that we will get to AGI, artificial general intelligence, in the next decade, as opposed to by the end of the century or never, which are the other options. But until then, the immediate future, I think what we see coming, the first clue is that OpenAI didn't create GPT-5. Everybody was waiting for GPT-5, a large language model than GPT-4, and it didn't happen. Something else happened. And that something else is going more towards specialized, more expert models, maybe small language models. We refer to a small language model for any generative AI model which is trained on less than 7 billion parameters. And for comparison purposes, GPT-4 was trained based on 1.8 trillion parameters. All right. Very, very expensive, 200 million cost of processing power to train it. So that's unsustainable, not only to create it, but also to run it. It's very, very expensive. And so it looks like we're heading towards many agents that may take on some marketing functions. You may have the data analyst agent. You may have the creative agent. And I think we will see a lot of that happening in the next 1 or 2 years, where AI will start, if not replacing what people are doing, as Tom says, at least making strong suggestions and providing inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
good answer.
I like to think of it as like a person, another person in the room.
Yeah.
That's, saying, hey, how about that? And how about this? And then what it does is it kind of gets people to go, well, okay, I agree with that, but we should do this. It just creates some dynamics that is a leader you're always trying to push.
It's a good way of thinking of it. Yeah.
And they're unafraid to speak up, I guess.
Well, you can't be, because somebody's already given you an answer. They said, hey, here's an answer.
Exactly. Okay, great. Next question. So up till now, we've spoken about social media data and using AI to analyze and generate insights from social media data, which is obviously public information. We have 2 questions related to NHS patient data and feedback from Nikant, who I think knows you, Michaelis.
Yeah. I was eager to answer Nikki's question.
So I guess the question is, how do you treat confidential information if you're using it in one of these AI models?
Yeah. So great to have you here, Nikant, and we should catch up. We gather public posts, right? So, and legally speaking, if a patient posts confidential information about themselves on a public platform, I think that's on them, right? But ethically speaking, yes, we should be responsible enough, and even if someone made a mistake, we should be able to catch it and not create damage for that person. And for that reason, I guess the first question is, it's public, and we don't gather any information that is behind passwords unless if we get permission, and if we do, it is probably only seen by the people who gave us permission. But if by accident somebody shares sensitive information online, it is on us to make sure we don't harm anybody by reporting this information. And there are ways to do this by anonymizing data or by taking certain bits and pieces of information in an automated way before it ends up on a dashboard, take it out of the posts.
But I think the power of it is more in the aggregate, right? So the individual isn't really that important.
Yeah, but then there is also the concern that many people have, Tom, that are you going to use my data to train your model? And some people don't like that. Even though you're not disclosing anything, there's also that aspect of, sensitivity of data.
And maybe to Michaelis, you can maybe talk more to when we do get access to a company's data for a custom project, not involved in the AI space. There are many measures taken to prevent that from getting externalized.
So we anonymize the data on the fly before it reaches our staff members, basically. We sign, maybe there's one person that can have access to this data that is not anonymized yet, and that person sign some really strict agreements with the client. But yeah, there are many. Information security is becoming a very, very important department in large organizations, and yeah, it's yeah.
Okay, great. I think we've got time for one, maybe two more questions. So this one's on what insights should a non-technical stakeholder know from artificial intelligence in the social media industry? So I don't think this has been too technical of a discussion in terms of which algorithms we're using, but maybe for someone who's got, almost no experience in computer science and artificial intelligence, is there anything that they need to know from a technical side? Or
Well, yeah, we are a minute over, so I would encourage anybody who has questions to reach out to us. But the quick answer is, if you are a non-technical person, then you need to at least understand what's possible and what's not for your business, and maybe get some help from technical colleagues within your organization if needed.
Okay, perfect.
And as a non-technical person, I would say, just you have to integrate it with your team. It's like anything; it's a tool. It's a better tool. It's a tool that you wouldn't have otherwise. But people still need to learn how to use it. So it's about being patient and being on that learning journey. With them.
Wonderful.
Perfect. Great. Sorry, I thought we had a few more minutes, but we don't. So just again, if you want to get in touch with us, there's the button on the right. We're going to send a follow-up email as well, or contact any of us directly if you want to learn more, book a complimentary demo, or get a free brand report for your brand and one competitor. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you, Tom. We really appreciate you joining us as a guest. Thanks, Michaelis, for hosting. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.